output.
In the previous chapter, we have downloaded, installed, and configured an integrated development environment for Android. Now it's time for a quick tour. I'm starting Eclipse. For those of you who already know Eclipse and already develop using Eclipse, you will probably not learn anything from me today, so I will suggest you go directly to the following chapter. So I'm going to create a new project. I will click on File, New, Project, and here you see a dialog box that will ask me what kind of development I want to make today. So it's pre-selected. It's an Android project. Click on Next, and I have another dialog box with a lot of fields I need to fill with some information on the project. Project name is not necessarily the name of your application, it's the Eclipse name of your project. So nobody will know about it except you. Let's do baby steps. This project will be created in my workspace. It's my sandbox, my developer sandbox, in the default location. That's fine. And now I'm going to choose a build target. So it will define on which target, which device I'm going to develop and test my application. Android 2.1 for me, and it's API level 7. You can see here that the minimum SDK version to run my application will be the SDK version 7. Application name, so here baby steps. For the package name now, it's the Java package name in which I'm going to code today. I will choose com.voxisland. And then I will create a new activity. We'll see what an activity is very soon. What you need to know right now is an activity is a screen on your application, one of the screens of your application. You also need to know that an activity is a Java class. So here I need to provide a Java class name. I will start with a capital B and baby steps. Now I can go further and click on Finish. Now I can start to see what the environment has created for me. In baby steps, I see that there's already a number of files and directories. Let's start with source, src, and here I see a Java package, com.voxisland. Let's see. And of course here I see baby steps.java, the class or the activity I've created. I double click here and I'm opening this file. And here I see code, Java code. Yes, indeed, the environment has created for me an application skeleton. So I'm curious, you're probably curious too. So what does it look like, an application skeleton? So we can try to run it. I'm going to click on this button, specify that I want to run an Android application, and then nothing's happening apparently. Oh yeah, now the emulator is here. I must mention that it's going to take a while. On the very first time you're loading the emulator is really loading, interpreting the Android operating system. So basically it can take, let's say, 2 to 5 minutes, but then it will stay open on your computer, and we will go back and forth between Eclipse and the emulator. I would recommend you use the emulator, try its different features, because you are going to spend a lot of time in this tool. It's ready now. So I can say I have an Android phone. It's half charged and apparently it's locked. So I'm going to unlock it, which is done, and I have my application, the Baby Steps application, which is saying hello world, baby steps. This means without writing a single line of code, I already have my very first application, the very basic hello world application. Now I'm going back in my development environment, and we can see that I have a number of lines in this console, which is showing me what is going on, especially in the emulator, what happened. I see that the application package installation, a successful installation, and the start of the activity. Now, so here is the code. So basically this is your editor. We would not necessarily spend much time right now on declaration and Javadoc, we'll see that later, but we'll go in problems. Here we will see the different errors and different warnings you may have in your application. So for example, let's say I'm going to make a mistake and remove this. I'm trying to run the application. I'm saving it, and here it's saying that I cannot execute something that contains errors. So let's see what we have here. Okay, I have a problem in baby steps in this class. In line 1, I have a syntax error, and apparently there's a missing semicolon. So I'm going to fix it, and as you've seen, let's make another mistake. So I'm going to get rid of this one. No need to rerun or recompile your application. You already have an indication here. It's a very serious warning. It's a syntax error. So I can make as many mistakes as I want. I will have as many warnings or errors. So you can consider that your code is constantly compiling. The environment is really watching you and will show you in real time warnings and errors. So I'm fixing my code, and as you see, it's gone. Now I'm going to give you 3 seconds because there are 3 things that you should notice. First, see here, you see that in the path to my application code, this path is marked in red. This is an easy way to see, to know what's going on and what's wrong in your application while you're coding it. Second thing, even if I fixed my mistake here, I still have the error right here in my problem tab. And the third thing, here this warning is not red anymore, but it's still there. It's gray. It's just because, look here, it's just because I didn't save my code, which I'm going to do right now, and everything's gone. The mark here, even here, and there's no more problem indicated here. So today we're not going really to explore the different files and directories of your projects. That's what we're going to do in the next chapter. We're going to explore the development environment. So here you see the hierarchy, and just made a mistake. I just double click instead of clicking. This is something you will probably do a lot when beginning using Eclipse. Not a problem. It's very easy to fix. Look at what I'm doing. Just click here, and I think everything is going back to normal. So in this hierarchy, globally, it's a view on all my objects, and you can match what's in the hierarchy tab and what's in the code. And I also have view on the different methods right here. We'll see that in more details later. We'll see task list later also, but we can have a look on outline right now. Here you see the structure of your code, which will be very convenient. We have a very small application here, but once we'll have hundreds, thousands of lines, it will be very convenient to go there and to go directly in the class you need and in the method that you want to see, to read, to fix, or to understand, or whatever. So keep that open. It's going to be useful very soon. So we're not done yet. Even if we had a look at the entire screen, there's more to see. Click here, and you will see what we call perspectives. A perspective is a different view on your project. You have a CVS view, a database view. You have also a DDMN perspective. It's DDMS is basically what is allow you to access what's inside your Android phone while it's running. You will be able to access and see the threads, the processes, the CPU, the memory utilization. So very useful to check the performance of your application, and that can be useful as well to do debugging. So debugging environment here, many different Java perspectives. You may not have as much as I have here. It's okay, and many other different perspectives. The XML one is right here. We will not necessarily look at all of them. We will just focus on the one we're going to use here in this training. Those are the most important ones. So unfortunately, one of which we're going to use from time to time is the debugging one. We are not perfect. Our code will not be perfect at the very first time, so let's have a look at the debugging perspective. So it's a different view of what we're doing. You have the console right here and the code here. It's a smaller panel, so that you have rooms for other things like debugging informations here. We'll see that in action in the debugging chapter, but it's just a preview here. You will have the access to the variables and the breakpoints in this panel. You will have the outline panel and the logcat, which is going to be very, very useful to know what's going on in your emulator or on your phone. So let me maximize this panel. The logcat is basically, I would say, the syslog of the Android phone. So you will have really a lot of information, which can make it a little bit difficult to read, but you have different levels. So you need to filter and get what you need. So here you see really a lot of information, even if we have done not much with our emulator. So you have debugging information, you have warnings, and these are filters, and you have an error filter. You can clean the log, and you can, so filtering is just basically clicking on one of those buttons. Here you only have the errors, the PID in this column, Tag will tell you who's logging what, and the what is of course in the message column. So sometimes it's very easy to read, sometimes needs some investigation. You have here the warning filter, and it's sometimes, well, I would recommend you go on and check the errors, then the warning, then the information, then the debugging, until you understand what's going on or what's wrong, or until you get the information you're really looking for. So you need to know that when you click on warning, for example, you have also the errors. When you click on verbose, you have all the different layers: the debug, the info, the warning, and the error. Okay, so have a look. You'll have debugging information even if you have no issue on your application. And as you can see, it's not very useful once it's in the very small panel like this one, but you'll use logcat a lot. So as I mentioned, let's keep the debugging to for another chapter. This was just to give you a preview, a very basic preview on this perspective. We're now going to go to the DDMS, where you have details of what's going on in your phone or in your emulator. You have the processes here, and you have an emulator controller right here. So what can we do with that? Okay, let me do that. It's gonna be easier. You can set up the speed. You can basically set up the emulator, the speed, the latency. You can change the data, the voice. You can simulate an incoming call so that you see how your application is reacting when it's running and an incoming call is delivered to your phone. Okay, you can also change the location of the emulator. If your application is using the GPS, for example, it's what you're going to use to feed your emulator with a position and proceed with your simulation. So it's basically here that you will communicate with the emulator. The logcat is here. The threads are not enabled right now, but that's where you will see the different threads and processes of your application. You can also have a look and explore the files on your telephone. The next perspective will be the XML one. So we will do Java and we will do XML as well. So this perspective is going to be very useful when we'll do, for example, when we'll build layout. The layout is what is describing how physically you're building the screen in your application. So the outliner is here, the code is here, so it's going to be all XML here, and you will have an access to the different properties here to facilitate the coding, and still in real time a view on the different problems your code may have. Now we are back in the Java perspective, and we're going to have a deeper look in an Android project. In this skeleton, actually, we're going to see what are the different files and what are the different directories this project is made of, and we're going also to have a look into the code that has been generated for us. But that's for the next chapter. We're done with this one, where we had a first quick look at the integrated development environment. So I'll talk with you in the next chapter.